please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we get into our agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith for a moment for some announcements and introductions and some big news.
Yes, well, in the world of education, things change very quickly. And in the world of families, things change very quickly as well. And we're happy for Eric and his family, who you're going to meet in just a moment, that they are making a big change in their life. And under those masks, you see big smiles, I'm sure, as well. So Vermont's gain is East Hampton's loss, not only of a great educator, but a great family. So Eric and your family, come right down, please. Just so everybody can see you. And why don't we start with, if you would introduce your family to everybody who's here tonight.
Yeah, of course. This is my daughter, Mary Jane, who is going into the 6th grade next year. This is Easton, who's going into third grade next year. Fourth grade next year. And this is Evan, who is going to go into 1st grade next year. And my wife, Heather.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I have just a couple of prepared words that I think are worth taking just a moment to mention. So tonight we say thank you and good luck, perhaps a little bit too soon, to our newest district principal, Eric Kissinger, principal of East Hampton Middle School. Eric found himself in the chair of principal at the start of the pandemic in March 2020 and guided the community through distance learning, and then come the fall into hybrid learning and finally full in-person learning. Eric's concern for his staff, students, and families was always at the forefront of the conversations we had and the decisions that needed to be made. What is most admirable about Eric is his ability to stop, think, and weigh the options presented to him. He is a person that is able to look at every angle of a problem and carefully make decisions. In 1 year of leadership, the building mirrors Eric's thoughtfulness and concern for children. This year was a crucial year for steady leadership, and not only has Eric provided that steady direction for the building, he has infused elements of compassion, kindness, and caring that has resulted in a successful year of learning. After a year of pandemic, he leaves the middle school ready and prepared for new and exciting directions. We are enthusiastic supporters of Eric and his family, and Eric has also prepared his family for new directions. Eric, as you have set the middle school on its path to a new journey, we wish you and your family all the best on your own new journey. Thank you, and congratulations to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And how about if I give you this to hold it from the bottom, because it's a little heavy, and keep it steady, because I don't want you to get wet, because there's a lot of water in there. And if we could take a picture of Eric and his family, and Chris, if you come up on one side and I'll stand on the other side. Where would you like us, Irene?
I'm thinking maybe more towards that side.
Nice blue background, we'll all look good.
Sorry. All right, that looks perfect. All right, 1, 2, 3, smile. One more for good measure. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
And I just want to say thank you to the board. This has been a tremendous opportunity for me. You know, if somebody had told me in my 7th or 8th grade year that I'd be principal at the school that I was at, I would probably fall out of my chair and gotten a detention. You know, so it has been, as Paul said, I tend to weigh a lot of options, and this was an option that Heather and I like navigated and weighed and weighed and weighed and kept weighing, and it's because I have such a incredible position here, with a lot of support and obviously family surrounding us. But you know, we've had a couple of difficult things that we've navigated through, and we found a lot of just comfort up where we're going, and we're going to make it full time. So it's been a pleasure to work with all of you, the admin staff, the support here from the board, Paul and Mary. I really could not have asked for a better experience, so I really thank you.
And now, Christina Emerald, if you would come down, please. Christina's family is watching via Zoom. So, Christina, we'll let you stand right here because the Zoom camera is there. We want them to be able to see you. Give them a big wave. Excellent. And introduce your guests here tonight.
Yeah, they were here not too long ago. I have my husband, Marco, my 2 girls, Gabriella and Estella Bella, and my parents, Talia and Caesar.
Excellent. This is becoming like a regular Monday night occasion. I know. She may be superintendent next month. I don't know. Recognizing Christina Emerald at Board of Education's meeting is becoming commonplace. In the spring of 2016, she was recognized as the first East Hampton Teacher of the Year after an 11-year hiatus of this district offering that recognition. Fast forward to last March, when she was appointed as interim assistant principal, something that excited many people in the middle school and in our community, but truly saddened those who realized that their children would not have her as their math teacher. This past winter, the board removed the title of interim, naming her the assistant principal of the middle school. And here we are, a few months later, knowing and appreciating her prowess as an instructional leader and her capabilities as a building leader, moving her directly into the role of interim principal. Her leadership was strong during the pandemic, and all of us are excitedly confident in her and very eager to see her lead as we come out of the pandemic. Moving Christina into the role of interim principal is very natural for this gifted teacher and leader. Don't let the title interim fool you. It doesn't mean just moving the ship forward. It means navigating new territory and directions on the middle school's educational voyage. We have planned an intense focus on math in East Hampton for the next 3 years. Having a principal who is a master math teacher not only allows us to advance in mathematics, but fosters the creation of a STEM focus, science, technology, engineering, and math, obviously with math as the basic building block. Christina, we are looking forward to seeing where you take the building in this upcoming year. Congratulations to you. I know, flowers.
Thank you. I am so blessed to be working in such a great district, and I'm really honored to continue to serve our students, families, and staff at the middle school. So I'm very excited for the next chapter. So thank you.
Well, we can just do it.
Yes.
The light. The flash on? Thank you.
And congratulations to Christina's family and her parents. Thank you.
Good changes all around. Okay, moving on, interboard liaison. This is County Interboard of Finance. Any finance news?
Nothing yet this week.
Nothing to add. Labor Union. Yep, there's Mr. Shalansky. How are you this evening?
Hey Chris, how you doing? Not a whole lot, just congratulations Eric and you and your family. Wish you well on your travels to Vermont. And Christina, congratulations. You're going to do a great job at the middle school. You already do a great job, so this will be great. Only other little thing, we thank Paul and the board for offering that early return incentive. I believe, unless there's more that came in right now, I think 4 teachers have opted into that. So we thank for the offer on that incentive. So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll do an update from the principal. So we'll start with Mary, Director of Curriculum.
So at this point, we're finishing the historic 2020-2021 school year, but also planning already intensely for 21-22. So this time of year, kind of 2 lanes going as we move through all of the year-end celebrations, and the buildings really focus on celebrating students and their accomplishments, whether that's our AP testing at the high school or upcoming capstone events at the middle and high school, as well as transition events for 3rd and 4th graders. But in the meantime, we also started thinking ahead to next year in terms of class placements, which are already underway, and scheduling for middle and high school. Also looking at classroom resources and materials. We can always anticipate what transitions might be coming up, so making sure we have strong processes to inventory materials and plan for any shifts on grade levels and in departments. Our teachers are beginning the process of collecting year-end data on students, and we have a variety of assessments going on in the district, from state assessments for Smarter Bounds, in grades C-8, as well as our own year-end internal diagnostic assessment in grades K-8, in addition to the high school AP testing. We are also planning our summer work, because summer is busy in its own very unique way. So whether looking at curriculum projects that we're going to be running this summer, we're launching a data dashboard, as well as all of the ordering and partnerships that we manage with our vendors to make sure that we have the right tools in place for our teachers when they return. And we're also just getting ready to launch some of our summer reading and math materials. So it's May 10th, and before we know it, we'll be really formally transitioning to next year.
Crazy. All right. Principals, who is up? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I hope all the mothers out there had a great weekend. Just 2 weeks ago, we were giving you updates about things that were going to happen at Memorial. 2 weeks later, we're telling you things that have happened or are in progress right now. So Brandy and I got to welcome in new kindergarten families at a kindergarten information night. We ran 2 in-person sessions. It was great to have the families sitting in front of us, able to engage them in conversation, give them information about our wonderful school, and answer any questions that they had. Our writing celebration kicked off last week as well. So far, pre-K and grade 1 have had their writing on display. It's going on pretty much all the way through early June, so if you have one random afternoon that you're available and you want to swing by into the main lobby area, I think you'll be thrilled to see the work that's being celebrated. Our coaches led our all children exercising simultaneously activity last week. We had a rain out and then got it done the following day. Randy and I also sent out our Moving On Up certificate. We're going to be running 7 individual ceremonies to get families in to celebrate the achievements of their 3rd graders. Smarter Bounds assessments are underway and going well. And we celebrated teachers and nurses during their appreciation days and weeks. And we're looking forward to doing the same for the custodians and the cafeteria workers this Friday.
One more exciting thing that I'll add to that, Jen Bove, our Director of Nutrition, is collaborating with our 1st graders, who one of their science units is plants and seeds. Paul's and Sandy's has donated materials. They are growing 60 tomato plants from seed as part of their science unit. And those plants will be given to families at the first pickup, grab-and-go meals in June, with materials to transplant them as they grow, and do recipes all summer long with tomatoes. And so it's a tremendous community collaboration that starts with a science unit and our 1st graders.
Very
Center School just wanted to thank the collaboration of the PTO for supporting our Teacher Appreciation Week. They offered a lot of goodies to make sure that our teachers feel appreciated as they should. Exciting news, we do have an inventor heading to nationals. We found out last week, Shannon Mahoney. The video is on the Center School Chronicle if you'd like to look at that submission. So it is due to the National Invention Convention by this Friday the 14th. So we're anticipating that she will submit. Everything is virtual, but we're excited to hear how she's going to do. And every Thursday, it's literally music to my ears. We are back together as a 5th grade band. We're rehearsing outside. It's so exciting to hear that and just rejuvenating to the building. Everybody opens their windows when they have rehearsal on the basketball court so they can hear. But we're looking forward to that concert at the end of May.
The middle school, we had an excellent week last week, and I also appreciate the help of the middle school PTO as far as Teacher Appreciation Week. We had something every day of the week to really kind of celebrate what they've accomplished this year and the hard work that they've put in. Since our last meeting, we are in SBAC, having our SBAC assessments. I believe our last one is this week already, so just 2 short weeks of that. We've had really good attendance to it, and I think we look forward to seeing where the student needs are for next year. We have spring sports obviously going and operating safely. Baseball and softball are doing very well, and our mountain bike club continues to evolve and grow. And we are now planning for our end of the year events. We just posted some important dates and times for all of our students and members. So we look forward to that as well.
And as always, things continue to be busy at the high school. I would also like to thank the high school PTO. We had treats throughout the week last week. The corn dogs were a big hit last Thursday. They brought in their snacks, so we want to thank them for that. Last Thursday, we also had a vaccine clinic for our high school students, 16 and up, and we had over 60 students take advantage of that opportunity. I met with our project graduation parents earlier this evening, and we will be hosting a safe grad party after graduation at the high school on Friday the 18th. Our NGSS testing, Next Generation Science Standards, will be on May 25th at the high school. AP exams are ongoing. I met with last week our valedictorian, salutatorian, and class essayist. The valedictorian is Alexander Nikoloff. The salutatorian is Daniel Adams. And the class essayist is Angela Ricaldi. So we'll be celebrating them throughout the spring at the Top 10 ceremony and other events. And I will let our student board reps talk about the multiple events that are starting beginning on Saturday.
Just as a note too, for people listening and for our board members, keep checking that calendar that I include with the weekly update. I know we have outdoor theater happening this weekend. I'm sure our student reps are going to talk about that, so I won't steal their lines, but we have outdoor concerts. And I think it's just going to be nice gathering together as a community, bring a lawn chair and attend some of our events. I think you'll feel really good about it. I also want to let the board know that you are part hosts in the Top 10 ceremony. We're doing it in the town hall in the community room on Monday night, June 7th at 5 p.m. So please make sure you join us. It's a nice introduction to our Top 10 students.
Okay, audience of citizens, before I open it up, just want to recognize we do have a letter, everyone has it in front of you, that was submitted today to Paul from Kim Rich. I don't want to say the name wrong, Rich. So that's in the minutes, recognized. Any other public comments? No? No one there on Zoom? Hearing none. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Oh, Nancy K. Nancy O. second. Discussion, comments. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous, thank you. All right, now we get to our student reps. Turn it over to you guys.
All right, so the junior class car show that I mentioned in the last meeting was on May 2nd, and they raised $1,300 for the junior class prom that will take place on June 4th. And the senior class prom is May at St. Clement's Castle. AP exam started last Wednesday and will continue throughout the month of May and into early June. The last exam is on June 7th, and it's the AP language exam. And they're both traditional and online this year. The National Honor Society induction is on May 15th. The junior class award ceremony is on May 20th. The Triumph Honors Society induction is on May 25th. And the senior class scholarship awards evening is on June 10th. This weekend, our high school drama club production of Romeo and Juliet will take place out on the front steps. And the music department will be hosting their annual cabaret event on May 27th outdoors, which is exciting because we didn't get to have it last year, obviously. And there'll be student music performances and raffle baskets.
As far as spring athletics, the boys baseball team continues their season with a record of 6 wins and 6 losses. A notable experience was that they played at the Dunkin' Donuts Stadium in Hartford, and there was a great attendance from fans, and they won against Portland. And they also played at North Branford this afternoon. The girls softball team currently has a record of 3 wins and 9 losses. They recently played tough games against Cromwell and Old Lyme, and they also played North Branford this afternoon. Both the boys and girls track team recently had a competition with Morgan, with numerous athletes placing in events to score points for the team. They will compete with HK tomorrow, which will definitely be some tough competition. And next week, I believe it's the 18th, there will be a celebration to honor seniors on the team. The girls tennis team recently had a tough match against Morgan, losing 2-5, and they will continue their season away at Cromwell this Wednesday. And the boys tennis team also recently played Morgan in Valley, and they won against CHK this afternoon, continuing their season with a record of 6 wins and 5 losses. And there will also be a senior celebration at their next match away at Cromwell this Thursday. So there's a lot going on all around us.
It's like the door's open and everything's happening.
Everything's happening.
Yeah. Is Mr. Abrahams and the Botany Club, are they doing a plant sale this year like they do every year? Do you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I just don't, he hasn't given me the, it's coming up, I'll have a date.
I've had a few people
It's
ask.
this Saturday.
It's this Saturday.
You go.
Saturday. Okay, I'll make sure, because I have people asking.
There will be a parent square coming up tomorrow.
So, okay, perfect. Thank you. Personnel, nothing but, I'm going to throw in a little commentary on personnel. So we started the negotiations, as you know, last week with the paraeducators. And, you know, Jim and Justin can add if they want, but I just want to say, and kind of it's going towards the schools and on up to Mary and Paul. I've been doing the negotiations for a while on the board, and having dealt with Learn, I hear many horror stories from some of the other schools about how long negotiations go in their districts. And I don't want to brag and say it's been joyful, but our negotiations, I think, are smooth and comfortable and relaxed and communicative, and there's a common goal there. So again, I think it goes up to, you know, the building principals and the whole atmosphere that is created in the environment, and they're good to work with, you know, all the way through over the years. It's a compliment to everybody. So, anything you guys want to add? Or I
Well said.
No, well, yeah, I'll add, I was stunned there was no contention. I just anticipated something that didn't happen. That's great.
Policy and curriculum.
Policy, we met just prior to this meeting, next short meeting, and we have one item on the agenda coming up.
Finance, transportation, building and grounds. Nothing. And Amy is not here for Learn.
Amy is at the emergency room.
Yes.
Everything's fine, but she's not able to be here today.
Yes. And on that note, Amanda, I got a text from her on my way in that she is also there with her grandchild. So, yeah.
So we almost have a quorum at the local.
I know. Yeah. Superintendent's reports.
Just a couple things. At your place, there's a document in blue. This speaks to remote learning next year. And I think the key line is at the bottom of the second box, which says, at this time, the Department of Public Health, Connecticut School Department of Education do not anticipate the need to mandate to the public health necessity that all school districts provide an option for students and their families to opt into a voluntary remote option after this school year. So what we anticipate is not only will our schedule be 5 days in per week, but we will not be offering a remote option that all students will learn in person. I think which is very encouraging news. Obviously, we're awaiting further guidelines, but the state is not planning to require any type of remote learning. The studies that they cite speak to the importance of in-person learning. We fully support that. We've begun talking to you, and we'll share this as one of our goals for next year. Our concern over the mental health, the emotional health of our students, and one of the programs we're planning to bring in to support that. So we want our students in 5 days a week. So at this time, we will communicate with our remote learners that, based on state guidelines, we won't be offering remote learning. If something should change and the pandemic takes a turn, that is always a possibility. But at this point, we don't have any reason to believe that we will not open in anything but full learning for next year.
And Paul, if anyone wanted to still work remote, they will be teaching their children themselves, basically?
Well, there's always a homeschool option for families. But the remote model where students stayed home and teachers were providing them the full-time education at home will not be an option. Now, there's a possibility that due to COVID exposure or quarantining in the fall, that we still maintain some sort of variation of the Google Meet model, where if a student's quarantining, they can Google Meet into the classroom. That's what we're doing with our full in-person learners now. If they have to quarantine, or if they have COVID, they can Google Meet into the classroom. It's a possibility that that will exist, but the option of completely separate instruction remote provided by our staff does not appear that it will be an option next year.
So it will be correctly titled homeschooling as it was pre-pandemic.
Yes, and then there are some families that chose homeschooling for one reason or another. We've already sent letters to them, letting them know that we're hoping that they'll re-enroll their students because we're placing students in classes now. The elementary school kind of determines the best mix. So if they're enrolled, we know them well enough to put them in the best setting. If they wait until August to re-enroll, well, then we look at where the numbers support adding a child, more so than the first preference of this student would do great with this particular teacher. The other thing is, I send out those maps, and I've given you the link to it. Not only was East Hampton improving, we moved out of the orange even into the yellow category. There's only one category below that, kind of the gray category. But to be, there's kind of that center of the state where we are now, where rates remain low. Even the towns that are red, most of them are just barely tripping into the red. So, the state is doing well. 70% of people have received their first vaccination. We just got a note before the start of the meeting that Pfizer's been authorized for 12 to 15. We'll work with CHC, and we will gladly become a vaccination site for 12 to 15-year-olds after school, weekends during the summer, just to make it convenient for families. But the reality of it is, even with our own seniors who we had a clinic for, or are 16 to 18, so many students had already had it or had the first shot or had appointments that out of 100 slots, we only had 60 students that took advantage of it. So we'll continue to offer it. I think anything we can do to get students vaccinated, and maybe next fall, just feel as normal as possible. I think that's a nice tribute after a very busy and a year that saw Bobby Balda at his home more than in school some weeks. And I'm glad that he can laugh and smile about it at this point. Just a quick budget update. Over the weekend, we were informed, and I sent this out to board members if you had a chance to look at your email this morning. ESSER 3 funds, the ARP ESSER funds, have come through. We estimated about $479,000. It's actually $483,000. There's a process to apply for those. In fact, you get to describe your full reopening plans and apply for the funds, mention how they'll be used. Obviously, we've already crafted that because those ESSER funds are going to pay for years 2 and 3 of our math specialists. And so we don't anticipate any approval difficulties except the process that Mary will go through to get us those funds does require some hoops jumping. But our plan is in place, and we're confident. If you looked at this week's update, you've seen that we now have identified our 4 math specialists, and Mary will be working with them. We're going to have them all come in on June 22nd with our meeting specialists, our administrators, and really talking about our plan and our goals for next year. And then just 2 other quick budget updates. Tomorrow evening is the public hearing. Town Council is hosting a public hearing on the budget vote. And 2 weeks after that, May 25th, Town Council actually votes on the budget to be sent to the town meeting and referendum. And that's it. The enrollment report is at your places. As you look at the numbers, there's a little bit of a growth in Memorial School.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, but how'd you guys get 10 more students?
We're down the street, what a great school.
I know.
Some of our, this includes our remote learners, but a few of our homeschool learners are actually returning for the last month of school, just to get back into it. Right now, I think if you look at our numbers, we have about 20 homeschoolers at this point, roughly 20, no, total.
Oh, homeschoolers, yes.
There are about 20 homeschoolers, and we anticipate most of them coming back. There's always been the traditional homeschoolers, and we've kind of separated them from the pandemic homeschoolers, but we anticipate the majority of them coming back based on conversations that we're having with them.
Any questions there? Okay, before we get into presentation real quick, I know I always like to put Karen and Rodney on the spot when they're here. There we go. Oh, no, I am not here. So if there's any updates or anything you want to add?
Well, we just found out over the weekend, actually, we applied for a stipend the state was offering for special education. One-time stipend of $20,000, so we applied for that for professional development, through the Bureau of Educational Research, catching up your students with disabilities who fall behind, and then also for math materials. I've been speaking with one of our special ed team leaders, Victoria Napolitano, who's also in an 092 program, which I know she's been involved in these kind of things, and I talked to her about some of the PD that they've been talking about in math, and she had some suggestions. I checked with Mary on the materials, and so she wrote it up. I looked it over. She did a great job, submitted it, and we just found out over the weekend that we did receive that award. So, so we're pretty happy about that. And,
is that for like next school year type frame?
Yeah, in the fall, really. Yeah. So, yeah.
Nice.
So, pretty hopeful.
Yeah. Karen, anything?
Food certification coming up.
Yeah, we got stuff to talk to you about. Yes. Okay, then we will turn it over for our the building and district goals.
Yeah, we're going to do a very abbreviated version of this tonight. I'm going to have each principal come down and just give you a 3-sentence highlight of what they've been able to accomplish. Their first sentence should reference goal number 1. Their second sentence should reference goal number 2.
Okay, there's some coaching.
And their third sentence should reference goal number 3. Andy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so we went from 10 minutes to 3 sentences, I got it.
That's his first sentence.
Yeah, so goal one was around second step, and we wanted to do everything we could to make our students feel safe, supported, and excited about learning. Those lessons have been implemented with fidelity in every classroom, supported with posters, common language by all staff all across the building. Bottom line there, our students are more connected to their peers and the adults in the building, and are socially and emotionally competent. iReady, our winter diagnostic, 59% achieved typical growth in math and 69% in reading. We are anticipating a nice jump on the third diagnostic, which will be coming up at the end of this, mid to end of this month. Foundations, great improvement with decoding and spelling. Students are transferring those skills as we talked about in other presentations this year. They're really using it to decode when reading and encode when writing, and we are seeing some data to show that the improvement in their iReady scores, specifically around phonics and vocabulary, has gone up, so we're proud of them there. Math workshop, this was really hard to call a full year of implementation. Our second year, that was the plan, but I'm so proud of our teachers for not reverting back to something that might have been easier to teach. Kudos go to the district for supplying individual manipulative kits that allowed us to still have center-based approaches in a very safe way. Our teachers continued with strong mini lessons, modeling, and our students were still able to get into those centers. For goal 3, our meetings did look a lot different. Much of them were virtual, but data was still closely monitored and utilized. Again, with something that the district provided, our iReady instructional seats really took our data analysis to the next level. Our planning with that data has really helped boost student achievement. And our communication, I've said it many times, and I'm glad to say it again, nobody communicates like Memorial. Our teachers have even stepped it up a notch this year. More pictures and videos to capture those safe, special moments, make families feel secure, more frequent and detailed communication. And the thing that I think took it next level as well was providing virtual support and online platforms to continue the learning at home. Those are 3 really long sentences.
I just went through and erased all the periods. For our first goal, throughout the building, we rebuilt our community using Second Step as the common resource to support students' social and emotional needs, but also their continued development. Staff have moved beyond the scope and sequence of the programs to implement lessons in on-the-spot moments, such as resolving conflicts from recess to supporting a classmate that may have experienced loss, which unfortunately we recently dealt with as a community. Continue training this year for staff as we run our capacity to be empathetic educators to become more aware of our implicit actions. For goal 2, key celebration for center school is adaptability. We learn to be flexible and pivot quickly when necessary. Staff use technology to meet our learners' needs in all environments. As early adopters of the Google Meet model, staff and students shed the mindset that we need to be masters of digital tools to engage with it. With students having more access to a choice of digital resources and learning activities, this paired well with how we showcased our learning through culminating activities. A Google slideshow, performance, poster board, or written piece were all options for students to showcase their learning at the end of a recent unit. In all environments, we aim to apply skills and authentic tasks. This is true in our specials areas as well. Currently, we have a wire sculpture art gallery in our hallways. Students are rehearsing for a dance showcase, and our 5th grade musicians are preparing for a concert. And finally, there was a focus to support staff around assessment literacy. Staff training specifically on student performance data in iReady was a consistent focus this year to give staff the skills to look at various data points in order to take action providing support and enrichment for students. And we are excited to continue to develop this culture as we look to implement a comprehensive data warehousing tool. And our staff has worked hard this year to support our learners. For this goal, I really would like to celebrate our special education team and school psychologist, Stacey Rios, it's her first year this year, and how they have partnered with classroom teachers to ensure all students continue to grow.
Our first goal was all around, obviously, social and emotional learning. Second Step was a huge purchase for us, and it has gone a long way for our students and our staff members. We were probably able to implement 3/4 of the program this year, just with a late subscription and also the beginning of the year, having that be a little bit difficult to navigate all of those days. Next year, we fully plan to implement the entire second set program. It's differentiated for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels. They're used to it coming from a K-8 experience, or a K-6, K-5 experience, and then they come to us with it at 6-8. It's just been a really tremendous resource, very reliable. And our teachers are finding it very easy to navigate and use and teach. Goal 2 is always around differentiation. We're always going to have a goal around differentiation because we realize how important it is for all of our students and our teachers. I think this year, one of the components of differentiation is making sure that you are varying and meeting students where they need to be, even in their environment. And I think that we were very able to successfully do that this year. Obviously, we navigated through different learning settings and environments. And I think, Google Meets and specifically the breakout rooms, having our teachers navigate those breakout rooms and put students in different groups, whether they had 12 students on site and 12 students at home, all students at home at one point. Our teachers really challenged themselves to use the technology, use it wisely, and meet the learners where they were. Whether that was on site, at home, it went a long way, and I'm really proud of the teachers for seeing that. Goal 3, that is around obviously using data to drive our instruction. We're always working on improving that in our systems at the middle school. This year, obviously, we will look to see what our SBAC data tells us. And we're still using iReady, that's 3 times a year. We're using that to drive our decisions with our SRBI programs. We're using it to drive our decisions with what we're doing inside of our classrooms. And in addition, in Goal 3, we are also improving our grading reform practices. 2 weeks ago, I presented to you about how we will continue that and how we are adding a citizenship component to our grading, or as a category to our grading system. We really feel like the grade that a student walks away with in each one of their classes really represents kind of everything about the student. A really holistic approach, but it also gives students and parents more information about their child.
So at the high school, our first goal was also a focus on the social and emotional needs of our students, and that was completed through a number of advisory activities, as well as regular check-ins with our students. Many of our teachers had students complete mindfulness activities, response journals, frequent check-ins. I know we walk around and see a lot of students, just teachers taking a pause, let's take a deep breath, where are we? Really focusing with our students. I thought that was really nice. Something that we hope to continue next year. When we start to get back to, I want to use the word normal, but we start to get away from the pandemic. A lot of things we learned this year about taking care of one another, I really want to keep moving forward with our school. Additionally, we really highlighted and tweaked our student assistance team process, which allowed myself, Mr. Warner, our counselor, our school social psychologist, and social worker, to really hone on struggling students. And we have a really solid process where if a teacher is concerned about a student, we meet weekly and talk about those kids to make sure they're not falling through the cracks, both academically, socially, or emotionally, to make sure they get what counseling needs if possible, or as appropriate. Our second goal at the high school centered around both assessments and a look at our curriculum, the profile of a graduate. Every one of our teachers throughout their goals this year devised one assessment that would measure one of the skills of profile of a graduate and some examples. And I literally have pages and pages of examples, but I'm only allowed 2 sentences. We had our capstone project is clearly one. All the work that our teachers did in their classes, centered around cooperative learning, centered around, project-based learning. The pandemic forced us to look at instruction differently. And again, you talk about things I want to keep doing. To go in and see teachers utilizing breakout rooms in Google, there's no reason why we can't do some of those same types of activities as we move forward. So trying to take the positive out of a really difficult situation, I feel like our teachers rose to the occasion and then some. And then our last goal was to examine student work, especially our grade level assessments. All of our departments, English, math, science, social studies, world language, offer benchmark assessments throughout the year. English utilizes their snapshots to plan for future instruction. Math has formative assessments throughout the year, which allow them to plan for not only instruction, but where they're going to go for placement for the following year. Teachers began to look at SAT data and PSAT data, and will continue to do that next year. With the inclusion of a math specialist at the high school for some time, and that's going to really help us look at that data and drill down to where are our kids successful and where they need some more work. And that's something I'm really looking forward to tackling as we move through next school year.
Good.
This way. So I think as we conclude and you hear those 3 goals that we really, wrote for the district last summer, when we were anticipating what we knew was likely to be an unpredictable school year, we wanted to have 3 strong anchors. One, really focusing on the emotional well-being of our students. We knew that was going to be critical coming off last spring. We know it's always critical, but it was particularly crucial that we approach that very thoughtfully this year. That we focus on our instructional process and how we were engaging our students. That again, this is something as teachers we always try to be mindful of. How can we make learning meaningful, relevant, and exciting to our learners? But this year we were challenged in ways we couldn't have even predicted to do that well, and to be very intentional in either our approach or our methodology. And then lastly, really focusing on strong systems. How do we make sure that our teachers have the opportunity to be reflective practitioners, to review student work, and then be thoughtful planners for instruction? And there's been times of year where I think we've felt that we've been very successful in the goals, and times where other immediate needs had to be placed in front of them. But when I look at this year as a whole, whether we now have our K-8 implementation of Second Step with true seamless integration of that program, when we look at our practices around data teaming, around instruction, whether it's maintaining elements of workshop at Memorial or really forcing ourselves to think about how we differentiate at the middle school, we've really progressed in each of those areas. And ultimately, this year has taught us so much in education. There's much we will take from this year that will transform how we do things. The pandemic has forced such a close collaboration with families. It's really an intimate experience in many cases, whether I was just today in our remote learning classroom for our 2nd graders, watching that close relationship between their teachers and the students, whether myself as a parent, the closeness you feel to your child's teacher when you have those at-home lessons and you're in the background, trying to make sure that your student is finding success. I think all of our families have connected with the staff in a really different way, and that's something we can take with us, that we are very much a team. And when we think about how much we know about our students and the different learning environments they have at home, the different needs that they have, whether that's through our more robust systems of assessment and data, we can continue to really keep them at the center of our decision making. Meet them where they are, as the principals were saying, not just in this school year when we know they've been carrying such a heavy weight of the pandemic, but always, so that we make sure they have what they need. So we're really looking forward, I think, to next year because we've had so much rich learning and really putting in place systems that allow us to build on quite a transformative year in public education. So.
And I know I had the principals go through their actions very quickly. And I want to stress to you that, we did not treat the pandemic as, let's just get through this. I know our teachers are tired, but they're not defeated, and we did not have a bad year of education. I compliment all the work that was done. I feel like we made gains. And of course, as a district that looks at itself critically, we know there's a lot of gains we want to make. We've targeted math next year. We're going to continue to work on social emotional growth of our children. But where we are now is people are tired. But we're going to finish the year certainly far from defeated or having said, wow, we just got through it, we'll work hard next year. There were advances made. And I know I had the principals give you just a very brief overview of what they've done. But as a board, I think you should be proud of your administrators, of your teachers, of your staff, of your custodians, of your cafeteria workers. Everyone worked very hard this year, and we made gains. We didn't just tread water. So we're looking forward to, at our fall meeting and as our board, even as early as 2 weeks from now in executive session, I'll start to hint to some of the goals that we plan on bringing forward next year. But I think you have a sense of where we are, what we do this year, and definitely where we're going next.
Paul, can you give some examples of the gains you just mentioned, just to kind of...
Well, I think you've heard from the principals. All of us talk about...
No, from you, personally from you, and I know I understand the principal, just your overview, your take.
My overview, okay. So you hear the focus on social emotional learning. It wasn't just by chance. It was in all schools. There's a curriculum that was followed. It was crucial this year. They had great gains. Even the high school, where it's a little informal, it's still part of an advisory program. But, we're not leaving things to chance in social and emotional growth. You heard about foundations and other programs like that. These are curricular programs that even during a pandemic, teachers are presenting and achieving with fidelity and loyalty to the program. As we look at our Go Math program, we're prepared next year to start piloting its next iteration. And we're excited, even though we know math is a target area, where we are being successful is for those younger students that now have had 4, 5, 6 years of the same math program. Where we know we need to target is that middle high school where they came through without fidelity in a strengthened math program. And I think the last thing you hear is just the whether it's the Facebook communications, teachers celebrated what needed to be celebrated. We had virtual meetings. We've had virtual concerts. We're prepared now with outdoor concerts with modifications and celebrations of student work. So, the gains are, if we have things to celebrate at the end of this year, we came through pretty strong. And, I'm going to use the word tired. I walk down the hall, our teachers have put a lot in. Jeff lives with one of them. He'll tell you that they're tired. And, poor Rachel, after she does the play on Monday night, Sunday night and Monday night, will come back Tuesday morning and, continue to teach social studies for the last 6 weeks of school. But it's stories like that a teacher says, these kids still need some semblance of a drama program. So we're going to give it to them in a modified version. Our students are, we offered sports all 3 seasons in middle school and high school, where a lot of schools said, let's just not even worry about middle school sports. We had 3 seasons of middle school sports. So I compliment the principals, the athletic directors, the coaches, and the parents who said, yeah, it's important for us to do that. So, I could talk on and on, but I made my, administrators give me 3 sentences. And I gladly elaborate with you, especially next meeting in executive session, when we talk about how you'd like to evaluate your superintendent. I'll be glad to elaborate on that.
I just wanted to flag 2 additional things. One is, I think, Paul spoke to it, but I just want to stress, one of the things that I think is a very strong area of growth this year, while it's not a tangible growth area, it's I can't give enough credit to the teachers and how much they had to learn to adapt and be flexible and learn many new platforms, systems, schedules, the list goes on and on. And so I think one of the most important things is the belief in our ability to do hard things together. And that the team really saw how even when it felt hard or challenging, that A, we can learn things quickly, we can adapt quickly, and therefore change, while always a challenge, is something that we can approach. And in the long run, that's a really important lesson for our community. I think the integration of technology has been a huge growth area. While there's still a range of skill sets, the second group I want to highlight that we haven't celebrated tonight is our IT team, and how much they just turned on a dime last year, but have continued with tremendous effort and a small team to make sure that every student has a Chromebook, that device gives them access at any time, whether they're home or they're in school, to what they need to learn and to connect to their teacher. And just this morning we were on the call with the State Department about this, the next round of ESSER and the federal funds, and it was a lot about the continuity of learning. And that was actually what we called our plan for the teachers at the start of the school year, was continuous learning. Last spring it was distance learning. And this year it was all about continuous learning, that we never wanted to break the learning process. And I think how the teachers just have done tremendous work to learn the various systems that have allowed our students to keep learning no matter what for all of bodies pre-quarantine. They could just keep accessing the curriculum. And then the fact that we did implement new programs this year. In many districts, they didn't do that. Foundations is one example where our second and third grade team, they hadn't implemented that program before, but the students had it in kindergarten and first. We wanted that to keep going, so in the midst of everything else they were juggling, they took that on and they implemented it with a high degree of success. And we've seen, as Andy referenced, concrete evidence of that improvement in those iReady scores just between September and early February, and the kids were in full time until December 7th. So it's just, there's been a lot of significant learning, I think, in the adult community in addition to the student community.
This might be best served under new business, but I would love to see, hear a guidance counselor, how they interact with the teachers for the emotional support of the students, and if that can be arranged, what's the day in the life of a guidance counselor? I mean, that'd be great to hear their integration with the students and teachers.
Sure, we could give you an overview, but I also understand that the social emotional instruction comes directly from teachers. So this is one additional thing that they are teaching with right in their classes as well.
Is there less connection of guidance counselors with the emotional needs?
We don't have any guidance counselors in the Memorial School.
Oh, I realize that, yeah, but just in general, just the.
Yeah. Now, I think their work has become specialized with students who have critical needs or are in crisis. Not that they're not connected, but the whole school is involved in social emotional learning. It's not relegated to just guidance counselors.
Okay, that's good. I did not look at it from that angle. That makes sense.
You mentioned, actually, all the schools talked about IT, and I was going to ask, again, thank you to them for being tested and, pushed to the limit. But it brings up the idea, I don't know if Rich and the team have begun or thought about kind of like a 5-year plan. So things have been tested and pushed to the brink. So moving forward, is there something specific or areas that the board, budget-wise, over the next maybe few years, can look at? What do we need to invest in to make things work?
Next fall, we're going to get a presentation from Rich.
Okay.
We're hopefully abandoning smart boards and moving to a whole new interactive digital board.
Okay.
One of our teachers is piloting it now. We'll make sure to get demonstrations of it, but that's going to be require some strong support from this board. The enthusiasm will come from Rich, but we're going to look for strong support from the board because the items are cost.
Even if there's, big infrastructure items, that we need to get into capital and start planning for to do things the right way. Good. Any other questions for any of the schools or Paul or Mary? Okay. Thank you. Now we can put Karen on the hot seat. We have our yearly approval of the health food certification, and there's 2 parts to it. So do you want to give a kind of an overview update for everybody?
Currently in Connecticut, 94.2% of eligible districts are participating in the Healthy Food Certification Program. East Hampton has participated since the 2013-14 school year. There is a carrot from the state of Connecticut for signing on. Last year, we got $9,189. This year, $3 less than that, and a couple of years ago, just over $10,000. This has nothing to do with the breakfasts and lunches that are served from the cafeteria, but it's designed to be an effort to provide healthier foods and beverages to the students outside of the cafeteria environment. It really controls all aspects of the school premises, every building. The only thing that's not under these guidelines, the Little League fields are separated out, not considered part of this program. So we recommend that you agree to go along for places where the votes need to be a first vote to see if you agree, continue with the program, and a second vote that you would allow us to sell items at events. Which is to benefit whoever's, that those sales are not conducted by the food service program.
Like the grill and show, for example, selling food out of there.
So I'll put Nancy on the spot. So Karen passed out the corrected motion version in front of you. If you would like to read that, because it needs to be read exactly into the minutes and approved on by us. Or did you have a question?
Just want to check one thing.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so they need to be done separately?
Yeah, so the first one.
Yeah, okay. Do you want me to just read it or make a motion?
How about you make a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve what I will read right now. The Healthy Food Certification. Pursuant to CGS Section 10-215F, the East Hampton Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut Nutrition Standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut Nutrition Standards during the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah. Discussion. Questions about that?
What are reimbursable meals?
That's the breakfast and lunch that is served out of the cafeteria. So that is controlled by other rules and regulations. And in the case of reimbursable meals and in the case of what we're doing tonight, the State Department of Ed sends in a review team every 3 years. We had one year before last to see that we are meeting their standards.
Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, so we can move on to the second one.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for food exemptions, food and beverage exemptions as follows. The East Hampton Board of Education will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut Nutrition Standards and beverages not listed in Section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice meeting or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Good. Discussion there, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you again, Karen, for keeping on top of that, and Nancy for picking up that little tidbit. Okay. We have another motion thing that we don't like to do each year, but we have to. Recipient action upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools concerning teacher contract non-renewals.
You have a TAN memo at your places if you have any questions about that.
a motion there. Someone want to make that motion?
Hold on.
Jack.
I move that the contract of employment of the list provided not be renewed for the 2021-22 school year upon expiration of contract for the 2020-21 school year, and that the superintendent of schools be directed to advise such persons in writing of this action.
Is there a second? Nancy K. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. End of year events, again, we have that calendar in front of us. Anything else you want to add into that that's not on the calendar, either any of the schools or all there? Everything's in there, okay. Policy and curriculum, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, so we have a first read. I wasn't able to be at the meeting when this was discussed, so I'm going to ask Nancy to speak to the details of it. Do you want me to read the motion, or do you want to go? Review of the recommended Board of Education Policy 5145, Civil and Legal Rights and Responsibilities. It is requested that the board waive the second reading and approve Policy 5145.
Okay, so why don't we start then? First, we will make a motion to waive the second reading. And then we can open up. All right, Nancy K. made a motion to waive second. Nancy O. should be discussion on waiving the reading.
The reason we're asking for the waive is because we would like this to be in our policy booklet for our June 2 OCR compliance review. And approving this on May 24th just cuts that a little close, given how much time CAVE needs to get this online into the policy that they use.
This is a specific topic that they would look for a policy to represent.
Okay.
It's a new policy. There wasn't a separate particular policy specific to 504, so it makes sense, to have it.
Okay, so this is just a waiving. All right, so all those in favor of waiving the second read? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so now we need a motion to approve the policy. Okay, Nancy? Second? Jim. Okay, so now any discussion on the policy itself?
Sorry.
That's okay. Fill in the blanks. Even, I don't know, 504, would Rodney or anyone or Mary, anything you want to add to this in terms of it being a new policy?
Yeah, I can give you just a quick sense, and then if you have particular questions, you can ask Rod. Students who may not have special ed services, some students are eligible under Section 504. So it exists as a separate and distinct services other than special ed. But it is part of the Americans with Disabilities in Education Act. Our guidance counselors oversee 504 cases as compared to our special ed teachers who oversee those students who have IEPs. This policy is in line, obviously, with a lot of it is just legalese. But the important thing that we did not have was a series of grievance and complaint procedures, which is the majority of this policy. So this would serve as your administrators in case a parent was not happy with a 504 designation or a 504 procedure.
The only quick question I have, I know one of the things that popped up, provide designated employees to coordinate the compliance with the section. So our employee to kind of oversee that procedure, that's been identified and all clear on who's going to do what?
Yes, so Rod is the district coordinator of 504s.
Okay.
But in the middle school and the high school, the guidance counselors are the case managers for our students with 504. So each building, 504 students with 504 accommodations already exist in our buildings. We just didn't have a clear-cut policy that was in line with our practice.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
And Rodney, you've had a chance to look at this and you're okay with the language?
I have, yeah, and there's 504 information that's been on the People Services page for years.
Great.
Yeah. And nurses also see oversee 504 for medical and social emotional, so nurses also have 504 caseloads, and at our lower levels, the social workers and school psychologists often oversee 504s.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Say aye. Do you have? Future business, anybody have future business? Jim jumped the gun and put one in. Anyone else? Before summer, anything we need to address?
I qualify my future.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, hearing none. Audience of citizens. Questions, comments? None? Hearing none? Again, you have the calendar. Thank you all. Nice to see people continually. Motion, meeting adjourned. Have a good night.